honestly, man, like, I can't do this anymore. Before we get started, a shout out to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. I'll be honest, it doesn't matter how much you love something, you will eventually burn out. You'll get tired. But this is cyclical and it's really important to remember that. And if this is you, you need to assess. The first thing you need to do before you list everything on Craigslist and get rid of all your animals is to assess what's going on. Why do you feel this way? Why do you feel tired? Why do you feel burnt out? Why don't you want to go down to your reptile room or go over if you have 2 reptiles to the shelf that has your reptiles and go look at them? What is it that you're bored of? And part of this assessment, and I'm gonna beat this like a dead horse. Why do you beat dead horses? That's a stupid saying.
There he is, beating that dead horse. Get him!
Don't just go out and get more reptiles. The idea that you're gonna go out and get more reptiles and that's gonna make everything better is ridiculous. It's so silly. This is the relationship equivalent of let's just have a baby or let's get married and everything will be back to get. That's so many weird references and the video is like 2 minutes old. What I'm trying to say is it's not gonna make it better. You're not gonna reinvigorate your love for reptiles by getting another thing, right? Because if you're bored or you're stressed out or you're overwhelmed with the animals you already have, getting a new one is not gonna solve that. It's going to exacerbate it. Maybe it'll reinvigorate your love for that reptile because it's new, it has novelty, and when the novelty wears off, well, you're in the exact same position, except for now you've got one more mouth to feed, one more enclosure to heat. You get the idea, right? So what is it? Are you actually bored with reptiles and you just want to do something else? Is it just too expensive? It's too much work? What is it that you don't like anymore? And the next step, in my opinion, is to make changes, because I think the last ditch effort is to start getting rid of things, and we'll get to why that is in a minute. But maybe you need to just change up the way you're housing your reptiles. Something I love to do when I get kind of bored is I'll go to an enclosure, I will tear it down, and I will remake it. It is super fun, it's super enjoyable, not only for you as the person, but as the reptile, you are giving that animal some enrichment. They have a new area, a new design. It's like if you rearrange your bedroom. When I was a kid, I used to do this all the time because it was fun. Everything is in a new place. It's clean, right? Everything's newly organized, and that could be a part of it. Maybe, you know, your reptile terrarium has wear and tear and you're bored of staring at it and it looks ugly and the glass is all coated with hard water stains and there's poop everywhere, and clean it. Tear it completely down and redo it from scratch. Or maybe it's not the enclosure that you're having issues with, it's just maybe you're feeding them on a schedule and that's become boring to you too. Maybe your first favorite thing about keeping your pet ball python or pet bearded dragon, whatever, was feeding the animal. But now it's on a schedule. Every Wednesday at 9 p.m. I go downstairs, I throw rats into a bucket, and then 10 o'clock it's ready, I feed the animal, I go upstairs and I forget about it, and it becomes a chore. Well, what if instead you tried feeding quails? What if instead of feeding, I don't know, insects to your reptile that you're normally feeding them, crickets or mealworms, get into a dubia roach colony, because maybe you find a love for the actual feeders. This happens a lot with isopods, right? I use isopods to clean up enclosures, but some people have an actual fascination with isopods. Not me, but I get it. They're cool, they're interesting. Or maybe it's just the fact that you don't handle your reptiles enough. Now, generally there's 2 different types of reptiles. Well, I'm very simplifying this, but stay with me. There are reptiles that you take out and handle, and that's the enjoyment that you get, or reptiles or amphibians that you just look at and they're fun to watch. That's why I have red-eye tree frogs. I don't have them to handle because that's generally not good for frogs. I have them to look at. So if you have an animal like a ball python, which is a handleable animal usually, and you don't handle the animal. This seems so ridiculously easy and obvious, but it's something for me. Crested geckos are a great example. I have a few crested geckos. I've got 2 adults and a bunch of babies. And the 2 adults that I've had since 2016. So for 6 years, I almost never handled Yoshi for most of that. And then last year, or 2 years ago, I made a video very similar to this one, and I'm like, okay, I'm kind of feeling like I'm in a rut with reptiles a bit. I should handle some reptiles I don't handle anymore. And I always thought, well, Yoshi is a little bit fragile, so I'm not gonna handle Yoshi anymore. And all of a sudden I started, and now Yoshi and I hang out a couple times a week. Something else that I think is a tremendous value is see how other people do it. There's 2 main things that reinvigorated my love for reptiles in 2014 or whatever year it was, right? Because I started getting into reptiles in 2008 or something like that. And then I had 2 or 3 reptiles and I didn't really have any more, and it came to the point where it was like a chore to take care of my 2 bearded dragons and my leopard gecko Cheech, who I still have, by the way, who is the star of this awesome leopard gecko care guide. If you want to watch that, you can, because leopard geckos are awesome. And then all of a sudden I went to a reptile expo, and then I also started watching Brian Barchuk's channel on YouTube. Now, whatever your feelings are towards that specific channel, I'm just saying maybe you need to start watching channels on, well, I guess if you're watching this video, you watch reptile YouTube, but maybe you need to watch documentaries. Maybe your thing is herping and you want to study animals in more realistic environments. And this might lead you to keep the animals you have in more kind of simplistic environments into bioactive environments. And that can change your entire feel for keeping reptiles, because bioactive environments are freaking cool. And I've got a whole playlist right here about bioactive environments if you want to learn how to make them. Those videos don't get a lot of views because it's kind of a specialty thing. But I'll tell you what, I freaking love making these and I love the results. There's a whole rack right here of all sorts of different bioactives, and it's my favorite thing to do is come down and look at them. But I never felt that when I had more minimalistic enclosures. I used to have a bearded dragon in a 75-gallon enclosure, which is way too small, by the way, and it was just like a log and a heat light and a UVB and a few things here and there. And now I keep my bearded dragon in a really cool setup, and I keep my leopard gecko in a way too big, well, in comparison to how normal people used to keep their leopard geckos. My guy is in a 36 by 18 by foot tall enclosure, and it's bioactive and has plants and all sorts of things. And to me, that is way more fun. I don't feel burnt out servicing this enclosure or handling Cheech or watching him. I don't know if you knew this, but if you go out into the wild, there's no paper towels. Crazy. But now I have a little slice of nature in my home that I get to watch my animal interact with in a very supernatural, it's not what I'm trying to say, in a very natural type setting, in a very natural type way. And that's the other thing too. Maybe it's not even just making new enclosures or creating new enclosures or something like that. Maybe it's something as simple as creating content. And for me, that's really helped. Now, obviously, I've got a YouTube channel and it's established and I get to do this for a living. So I kind of have to do this. But even if I didn't have to, I still would. Because making videos like this gives me an excuse to handle my animals. And it doesn't have to be video production, making YouTube videos, because I'll tell you what, it's a heck of a lot of work. So I'm not saying that everyone needs to make a YouTube channel or something to that extreme sense, because that doesn't make any sense. Maybe for you, taking pictures of your animal is something that you'd like to do. I love taking pictures of my animals and posting them on Instagram, or just looking at them, putting them on a slideshow on my Google Home device and it just slides there, right? I love the idea of doing simple things like that because you're interacting with your animals and you're being creative. Maybe make a TikTok account and spend an hour making a video instead of 12. That would be something that would be really cool too. Or Instagram Reels. Or maybe you even get to the point where you're good enough at taking photos of reptiles to sell them as stock photography. Or maybe none of these things because you don't care about making any money, which obviously is how we all started, as just as a passion, not as a way to kind of make a living. And that's cool too. I think that's a great way to do it. Because at the end of the day, this isn't a how to make money video, it's a how to reinvigorate your love for reptiles. But some people, like myself, have to go all in on things. And if I go all in on reptiles and I don't make any money doing it, that means that my time is being spent elsewhere and I can't spend as much time on my passion. So that's why for someone like me, it makes sense to have this as a side hustle or as a full-fledged business because I am hyper-focused. I do one thing, that's all I care about, and this is it. Reptiles are all that I care about. And even though I've got more reptiles than I've ever had, and I have more work on my plate than I've ever had, my reptiles have the best care they have ever had because I spend so much time taking care of them and interacting with them. And that's because I create excuses to do so by doing this. So no, I am not getting out of reptiles, and I don't think you should either, unless none of these things apply to you. If you've created a new hobby, for example, if you work on cars now and you didn't before, you got into reptiles when you were 11, now you're 18, and all your time is spent building cars, racing cars, driving cars, whatever, just as an example. You can put your car hobby on hold for 2 months and nobody cares. If you lose too many 10mm sockets, you can throw your wrench into a bucket and not think about it for 3 months. It doesn't affect anybody or anything. If you get bored with reptiles and you don't service your reptiles for 3 months, you're gonna have dead reptiles. And that's not cool. So in this case, where you just don't see you getting your passion back, you're spent, you found something else, this isn't your calling, now it's time to get out, man. You gotta get out. And there is no shame in this. There is shame, however, in, well, maybe I'll get back into it, so I'll just neglect animals for a few months, becomes years. That's not cool. So make a decision. Decide, is this something that I need to just work on and get my passion back? Or is it, I don't have this passion anymore, I need to move on? And in that case, if you need to rehome animals, do it smartly. There's a video right here about reptile hoarding and how at the end it talks about how to get rid of reptiles. If you need to get rid of them, to rehome them is a better word, get rid of them. Oh my goodness. It's really important, right? I try to make these videos fun and light, but at the end of the day, if you have animals that you can't take care of, you need to put them in a position, into a situation where they can be taken care of. This video is taking so long to film because I'm sitting, like, this is Cheech's enclosure here, and he, like, his little leg is sticking out. I can't stop. Look, he's so cute. He's so cute. So listen, I could beat this to death, but I don't have to. Do one of those things to reinvigorate your imagination, or let me know in the comment section below. Help somebody else. What was it for you that reinvigorated your inspiration and your love, your passion for reptiles, if you've ever got burnt out? Because it happens to all of us. I would love to know for myself and for other people as well. So leave it down there, but otherwise just get out. It's really as simple as that. Do this or do that. Another thing that helped me is building a website to showcase my animals. And I did that with Squarespace. Squarespace gives you a beautiful and elegant online platform in which you can create the very best website that you could even imagine. They have tons of different templates that you can go to, or you can start from scratch and make your own. But to me, it was super simple and super easy, and that's why I use Squarespace for my own website. Squarespace gives you the option to connect with your audience and generate revenue through gated members-only content, manage your members, send email communications, and leverage audience insights all in one easy-to-use platform. So go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/wickenswicked, use the code wickenswicked to get 10% off your first website or domain. And that's it. It's really as simple as that. I want to say thank you for watching up to this point. Thank you very much to the Patreon supporters. You guys are freaking fantastic. If it wasn't for you, I couldn't make videos like this, and that's something that reinvigorated myself as well, is just talking to other people on different platforms like Instagram and especially Patreon now. So thank you guys. And for as little as $1 a month, you can know about secret stuff that I don't talk about here. Because we do videos twice a week, that means I'll see you on Monday.